The Haunted Mirror. I was hastily packing all the necessities because me and my team members' team were supposed to leave for Mojave Desert soon. We were currently in Las Vegas. They had to cover 58 miles and were already quite late. I was a part of a wildlife organization, and we had decided to do a documentary on how and what you are supposed to do if you are stuck in the desert, which is why we chose Mojave Desert. As soon as we reached, the entire team set to work. We started looking for good locations to shoot the documentary. The team members scattered. Some went in twos, some in threes, while I went alone. I looked ahead and noticed a small hill and thought it would be a nice place for the documentary. So I went up and stood on the highest point of it. The ground underneath my feet was unstable. I wobbled as I struggled to stand straight, but in vain. I slipped and slid down in the opposite direction to where the team had set the camp. It was a harmless but long fall down. The sand entered my eyes, mouth, and nose for a second. I thought I was going to choke and go blind. I stumbled to a stop, got up and dusted myself. The sand was quite grainy, so it took me a while to get it off me. I coughed and spit out as much as I could manage. I rubbed my eyes and the grains of sand felt like they were cutting into my eye, but that was least of my concerns right now. There was no chance of me climbing up the hill, as it was steeper at this end and the ground was also very unstable. So I decided to walk around it to get back to my members. The sun was starting to set, and the gentle wind that blew was making me shiver. I wrapped my arms around myself to keep warm. After a while, I noticed that I had been walking for a long time now, but I was getting nowhere near the camp. Discouraged to the core, I screamed out in hope for someone to hear me and send help, but there was no answer. I felt like the only human being on the entire planet, and there was not a single sign of life, and it seemed that this desert had not been touched by civilization yet. It was getting very late, and I had no idea which way the camp was, yet I walked on. It was better than staying at one place uselessly. The setting sun shone upon an object that caught my attention. I went towards it and stared at it in wonder. It was a mirror, half buried in the ground. I picked it up and saw its edges were decorated with spiral black patterns. It was a semicircle, as if the missing piece had broken off of it. Still, it was quite a beautiful thing to look at. It looked like an antique piece, and so I thought that I might be able to get some cash off of it. While I was praising its beauty, I saw a black figure in my peripheral vision. I thought it might be one of my teammates, so I instantly turned to him, smiling in hope. There was no one there. It confused me a lot because I was absolutely sure that I saw someone, and when I looked around, there weren't any footsteps on the ground either. I decided to just let it go and find my friends as soon as possible, for it was getting quite dark now and I did not have a flashlight on me. I started to run to cover more ground in a shorter time, but I constantly kept looking back because I felt as if someone was following me. Every time I looked, there wasn't anyone there. When I was about to give up, I saw a light from a flashlight in a distance and was relieved to find out that it was my team, and they had been looking all over the desert for me. I told them how I had stumbled my way down a hill. All of us had dinner and prepared for sleeping. They had set up tents as it was a requirement to stay the night in order to do the documentary. There were 10 people in total, including me, while there were 4 tents. I shared mine with 3 of my friends. We turned the lights out and everyone was soon fast asleep after the tiresome day. A piercing scream disturbed the calm of the night. I woke up with a jerk. So did my friends. We ran out of the tent to figure out what all the commotion was about. Everyone had gathered around one of the tents with their flashlights out. It was one of the team members, lying in his own pool of blood. He had been cut deep from the navel to the nose. The 3 girls were crying, and the men were also scared out of their wits because they couldn't figure out how it had happened. Some of them even blamed the dead body's tent members, which led to a fist-to-fist combat. Me and one of my friends decided to separate them to prevent the fight and told them that they needed to figure out what to do with the dead body. It was decided among all of us that we needed to call someone for help immediately. There wasn't any service available where we were. Everyone was panicking. I said to them, we should wrap up the body, put it in the Jeep, and drive out here as soon as we can. Everyone agreed with me. And so, we quickly started packing up. I put the mirror, which I had found earlier, in my backpack. While doing so, I noticed that it was ice cold. But right now wasn't the time to worry about such things. Todd was the driver, so he went to get the Jeep started. Meanwhile, me and the rest wrapped up the body. It took us quite a bit of effort to do so, and one of his friends even gagged. We were short on supplies, for we had not come prepared to bring back a dead body. so we wrapped it in one of the sleeping bags. Later, we carried it towards the Jeep, only to find Todd lying on the ground beside the Jeep. His head was missing. Horror struck and all of us ran away from the Jeep. We dropped the body and ran. Everyone forgetting about the body and their stuff. None of us had flashlights on us, so we had no idea where we were going. I screamed for everyone to stop, which they all did. I forgot that I actually had a torch in my pocket. When I switched it on, there were only 2 people standing in front of me. One of them was my friend Michael, and the other was Patricia. We looked around us and saw the rest of the team was lying on the ground with their jaws ripped apart. We instantly started running, scattering around the desert, trying to find a way to save our lives from whatever was after us. All I could hear was footsteps and pants from my fellows. Suddenly, I felt something move beside me really fast, cutting me where it touched my skin. The pain stung me with such intensity that my breath hitched, but I forgot all about that when I heard my fellow team members' screams. I quickly came up with a torch, as soon as my shaking hands were able to turn it on. I saw one of my friends in the hands of a massive black figure, who had him grabbed by his legs, pulling him apart. All the time, my friend's screeching screams pierced my ears. The black figure pulled off both of his legs. The tearing sounds of his skin froze me in my place. I could not believe the horror that I was witnessing. Eventually, my friend was in 2 pieces. I couldn't see much because of the dim torch. All I remember was the figure lunging for me when it came in contact with me. It was ice cold. I felt my skin being sliced open. The cold was going down my throat as if it were tangible. I felt as if my life were being sucked out of me. The screeching noises from the creature were so painful, to an extent where my ears started bleeding as I could feel the hot blood flowing out of them and the immense cold from that creature. I was suffocating. The cold wouldn't stop going down my throat. It felt like a million needles piercing my insides, and I couldn't breathe. My legs gave out, and I went down on my knees. I was so weak to even stand. The world was going darker than it already was. The creature moved over each of my friends' bodies. It was very quiet now, and it breathed steadily, unlike before when it was screaming. It seemed like it was searching for something. When it failed to find it, it would shriek and kick the body away. When it came towards me, I screamed at it to stop and tell me what it wanted. I was so scared, yet I had to fight for my life. I screamed at it again as it did not stop. I cried extremely loud this time when it was inches away from my face. Still crying, I pleaded to it to tell me what it wanted. It brought forward what might have been its hand, and there was the exact same mirror I had picked up from when I had fallen down the slope. Only, it was its other half. I told it that I had it, and I was willing to give it back. I told it that it was back at the Jeep, hoping it would understand what I was telling it. I pleaded like a beggar to allow me to go get the mirror for it. The creature was terrifying, like nothing I had seen before, and I'm sure no one would believe me if I ever told them either. That was, if I did get out of this alive. I slowly got up from my place and walked towards the Jeep. It followed me all the way back. Its presence was highly intoxicating as it lingered silently, floating behind me, the black things which looked like long hair floating as it came forward. My hair stood on the edge at this inhuman presence. I was still scared for my life, but I walked on. I reached the Jeep and went to the trunk to get my backpack. I took the mirror and it instantly snatched it from my hand, hurting my skin where it touched me again. I screamed in pain, and after a single blink, the creature was nowhere in sight. I was still frozen in surprise. I had a flashlight blind me the next instant, and some people came and injected me something. I screamed for them to stop, but it was too late. The next day, I woke up in a hospital. They had put restraints on me like I was a wild animal. I asked them the reason for it and was shocked to hear the answer. They told me that I had brutally murdered all my team members, and that I would get therapy and years of jail. No one was ready to believe what I was telling them. Rather, it confirmed their suspicions of me being crazy. We hope you enjoyed this story. If you would like more stories like this, please be so kind to like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to write "I subscribed" in the comments and participate in our Apple AirPods giveaway once we reach 1,000 subscribers. Thank you.